Welcome to the We Are VIP podcast. Each week, your host, Casey Hasten, Director of Recruiting at VIP, will bring you valuable insights from thought leaders, introduce you to incredible companies, and bring you tips for landing your dream job from our team of executive recruiters at VIP. And now, Casey Hasten.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the We Are VIP podcast, a podcast devoted to bringing you value in your career and candidate search. I'm your host, Casey Hasten, Executive Recruiter, Director of Recruiting with VIP, and your all-around hiring guru. Today, I have two very special guests with me, Natalie Padgett and Steele. Both of them are Directors of Client Development and Services with VIP. With years of experience in this industry, these two are experts in providing finance and accounting people solutions to the clients that are in need. They act as our business development managers. You're going to hear that term a lot today. We also refer to them as BDMs. So business development managers are BDMs. And I've asked them to join us today to kind of continue our discussion from a prior podcast where we were talking about building trust with the candidate and go into how we build trust with our clients. So, Natalie, Chris, hi.
Hey.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming on today.
Yeah,
I know that y'all
excited.
were really, really busy. We had to drag Natalie out of the office because she was on the phone with a client, a new client that you've been trying to work with since
March. Yeah.
March.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What is it your one client says about you? You're pleasantly persistent.
Always good.
Yeah.
Always good.
So guys, I know you know what the topic is today. I've got some questions I want to ask you, and so I just want to dive right into it. So, how do you as BDMs assess if a partnership is healthy and mutually beneficial?
I think the first thing that we look for is just full transparency whenever we're speaking with them in the beginning. Kind of getting the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just being able to know the full scope of the company, the position itself, management style, and just kind of knowing all. So that we can better, inform the candidates of the opportunity.
And so when you say the good, the bad, the ugly, we were kind of talking about this topic the other day. And what if a company comes to you and says, everything's great, there's not a single bad thing here?
Right.
How do you address that?
Well, nothing is perfect. No company is perfect. So if there aren't any issues, I'm going to ask them again in a different way, and just try to dig a little bit deeper. Sometimes, in the beginning, they may not want to release some of that info. They don't know us. They don't trust us yet. So just kind of building that rapport, and then eventually it does, always come out. So.
Gotcha. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think just, working together, we work with a lot of clients and candidates around the Metroplex, and we have a lot of intel. So, being transparent to the client and being able to let them know, like, hey, we might have heard whether it's A, B, C, or you might need to be aware of this situation where you stand in the marketplace. So I think just educating them and just being open about what we know, it's going to help deliver the right talent for them and just build that better partnership.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that. And I kind of want to go back to an incident that we were talking about with one of our clients that they had engaged us on a search and they had such a horrible reputation. We could not get a single candidate to say yes to us. And so we went out there to talk to them about what we could do to help, get rid of the stigma that they had in the industry or to see if it really was still there. And when we met with them, they told us that they had had a complete restructure at the leadership level. And there was two people that were there before the change and that were there afterwards, and they're like, it's night and day around here. It is night and day. And I'm like, you guys need to go onto Glassdoor and put that you need to start combating all those bad reviews.
It's something hard to overcome for a lot of companies once they get a bad rap out there. It's
Absolutely.
And definitely use the online marketplace to, better yourselves and get get all the updates, the change in culture, the change in leadership, get that information out there so, people are aware and that want to join.
Respond.
Yeah,
if somebody has a comment, respond to it. Don't just let it hang out there and people draw their own conclusions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what about as we're going through, again, talking about that healthy and beneficial, and I'm not talking about just beneficial for the client, I'm talking beneficial for us too, what is something else that you look for?
Something else I look for is just kind of creating that mutual respect of time. Just kind of making sure, like, they understand how we operate as a business unit, and kind of what they expect from us at VIP, and then also kind of what I'd like to expect from them as well. There's a lot of variables that take place in our line of work, so just being able to coach and kind of go through that and just make sure that we do appreciate and understand each other's time.
I like that. And I think it's important that if there's a major project coming up with a client who's asked us to find candidates, that they tell us that. They communicate that information to us. So what else? One more thing.
I think just an overall general communication. When I'm originally speaking with a client and trying to find out and dig deeper into why the role is open, maybe how large the department is, what salary they're looking to target, and things like that, and they're being resistant on sharing that information with me, or maybe even having a little bit of kind of a rude demeanor, we really try to assess those things during the phone call and bring all those factors in and determine from there if we're going to be the best partner for them.
Gotcha.
So I think
you had an incident the other day, and I was so proud of you because you were with one of our other executive recruiters, and she came back to the bullpen and she was just like, oh my gosh, you should have just seen Natalie. And so can you kind of share with our listeners a little bit about what happened?
Yeah, I had marketed a candidate that was perfect for the role that this company had open, and I got a call back from one of their executives, and we were starting the call. I was kind of diving into things immediately, and he was just being very resistant on answering any questions, kind of kept repeating the same answer depending on experience, and just the tone of voice and the respect that he was giving me, I just didn't feel that from him. And so I ended the call very shortly and just said, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be the best resource since you're not able to provide me with the questions I need about the opportunities. We can't share that with candidates. We're not going to be the best resource.
That is awesome.
So we just, we both agreed.
And you'd also said, going further, when we're talking to these clients, just like we interview our candidates, we're interviewing our clients for our candidates.
Absolutely.
And I think you said to me that you would not feel comfortable putting one of our candidates in front of them.
I think it would have been a replacement waiting to happen. And, I always think to myself, if I wouldn't want to place my best friend there, then
that's a great attitude to have. Great attitude. We've kind of talked a little bit about this, but an important part of a healthy partnership is setting those clear expectations from the start. So let's get specific. Number one, how do you set up those expectations? How and when?
I think the initial phone conversation. Or initial meeting, just letting them know, about the job market, first of all. The unemployment rate's super low right now, and talent is hard to find, and the sense of urgency that they need to have. Because if they don't have that, other organizations do, and they'll lose out. And then also, just letting them know about salary and compensation, making sure they're on target with what's going on in the market. We have a salary guide that we can provide to them, sharing that information. But sometimes they're a little bit under, and for what they're looking for, they can't quite hit that salary they're looking for.
And I think that's really our job, because we are the experts in this area. We see this all the time. We know what the other companies are paying and stuff like that. So I think it is our job to make sure we're cautiously educating the client.
If they haven't hired in a year or two, they're not going to know about the job market or what comp is like. So
and they might want to take their time. I mean, a lot of companies, they want the right hire, but with the way the market is now, you mentioned the job rate right now, and it's 1.5% unemployment for our field, for accounting and finance, and that's tough. I mean, something that I was taught early. I mean, speed does kind of ruin some deals once that candidate is interviewed. And, whether or not you just have that notion, if they, hit A, B, and C parameter, I mean, you got to be ready to, make that call, because there's a good opportunity that they're going to be off the market very soon if they're an A+ candidate. So, just kind of coaching them on that.
So I think another strong evidence of a healthy relationship is how quickly you get that feedback from the client, and how detailed that feedback is.
The more information we have, the better we're going to be able to present the next candidate to them. So if there was something about maybe their background that they didn't like, or maybe if they didn't feel like that individual would fit in personality wise, the more we know, better.
And it goes with the good communication, that what we were trying to build earlier on, because we're always going to be there, for them. I mean, whether it's any issues with agreements or getting a candidate set up for an interview or whatnot. So you're always going to get that immediate feedback from us. So it's just trying to, make sure like, hey, if you can give that immediate feedback, if we're hitting the right buttons on a candidate or what we're missing, I mean, it's only going to benefit our search going forward.
Exactly. And sometimes you can give them the perfect candidate and it still doesn't work out.
Yeah, it's like a personality thing even sometimes.
Yeah.
Skill set wise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So how does a strong, lasting partnership benefit the recruiting process? Who's your... Don't tell me the name.
But, you almost got me.
How long would you say your longest relationship is with a client that you've had?
I mean, I've worked with some of my clients 10 plus years.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, you'd like to build that partnership, and then, and what I mean by a 10-year relationship with some of them or partnership is just they maybe moved companies even, and I've gone with them to their new organization.
Gotcha.
So you kind of just know their personality and what they look for in their management style. I have quite a few like that. I've kind of gone with them other places.
That's awesome. What about you, Chris?
I just think of us as brand ambassadors, to them. I mean, that just really helps build that partnership. I mean, just who we represent at VIP. I mean, that's who we want to represent, for our client.
Absolutely. I have one client that I work with that you guys know, I absolutely adore them because, I mean, they have so many great benefits, and you can tell from the top down that culture is important. And it's like, I get on the phone and like people cry if they don't get interviews with them after I talk to them because they're like, oh, I have to work for that company. And I'm like, I know they're wonderful. But going back to what you said, being a brand ambassador, I am their representative.
Yep, absolutely.
And I represent them to the candidates. And if I don't represent them well, the candidates won't go. So,
and I think it's awesome to watch a company grow too. There's one of my clients I can think of off the top of my head that went from 8 employees to now like 70 something.
Yeah.
So it's been amazing to watch them grow and build out departments, and it's been exciting. So.
Yeah, that reminds me, and this was a client that you and I worked on in tandem that we built up that rapport very quickly with. Yeah. And we had a candidate that on paper did not look like he was a good fit, but I knew that he was. And I had told the client when we were there visiting them, I was like, I'm not going to put somebody in front of you that I don't think you'll hire. I'm not here to waste your time. And so before I sent the resume, I called the guy and I told him everything about him. And he's like, yes, I want to interview him. I said, now I'm going to send you the resume and let you see. And he's like, you're right. I would not have interviewed this person had you just sent that.
He wouldn't have if you just saw him on paper. And so that's why building that trust in the beginning and letting them know you're not just going to send over 20 candidates. It's going to be meaningful, and you're not going to see 20. You might see our top 3.
Yeah. Okay. And, I think that the longer you continue to work with a client too, the more you understand what they want.
Oh, absolutely.
And you understand what's important to them. So I think both of you are really good. I've seen you in action at developing those relationships and just really keeping that going. So I'm going to have to read this one because it's kind of long. And Natalie, I love that you do this. You're always sending out inspirational quotes to the team whenever you run across them or anything that moves your needle. You think should help the rest of the team. But you recently sent a quote to our team about timeliness and decision making. I'm sure you remember this. If you want the top talent, you need to be thoughtful, yes, but you need to be decisive. I promise you your competition is. Now, how does a slow hiring process affect the relationship with the client and the candidates that we're sending them?
Well, I think that we have an expectation of the candidates interviewing with our clients to get back to us, within a few hours, hopefully afterward, and get that fresh feedback from them. And so we want to have the same expectation of the client as well. And the feedback's going to be a lot more thorough and more detailed the faster that you provide that to us.
Right.
Because if you wait a week, it's just like, anything, it's going to lessen that detail. So we just want to make sure, that we're getting that feedback immediately, just as we expect that of our candidates.
Yep. Exactly.
So if it were flip-flopped, if the candidate waited a week to provide us with feedback, the company probably wouldn't be interested.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
But also, if the client lays out that expectation, like, hey, it might take 1 to 2 weeks to maybe go through the process and things like that, or longer, at least we have those expectations and can clearly communicate that to the candidate to make sure, like, hey, you're still in the running, still warm. It's just, there's ABC that needs to happen. So just as long as we have that information, it's going to help the process and partnership better.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think we've got a couple of clients right now that, 12-hour case study or something like that. And multiple interviews. I think that one took, 2 months to get through the interview process? It was crazy.
And as long as we know that up front, and we can be, just transparent with the candidate of what the process looks like, because some candidates may not want to go through all of that.
Right.
We shouldn't waste anyone's time.
And we should, you're right, absolutely be transparent with the candidates about that as well. So you mentioned the unemployment rate, but I kind of want to come back to that because I think nationwide it's 30%.
30%. Yeah, right around
and
that.
Accounting and finance, 1.5%. And it's gone down.
Yeah.
From 1.8, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
So
50-year low. Has it been like that in 50 years?
So as an employer, why is that important to me?
Your talent pool is definitely lessened, and especially individuals at like a senior staff level are in such high demand. So you're having to fight for them.
And you're trying to convince them to, come work for your organization. And they're not always going to be readily available. So we're trying, that's why companies work with us.
Exactly.
We go and find the talent, and, we have a pool of folks available that we're in constant communication with. So, hopefully we have people ready, but, sometimes we got to go find them.
Yes.
And
we absolutely do have to go find them sometimes.
The thing is, they have options, like you said. They have options.
Yeah, it's been so crazy lately. Like our candidates are getting multiple offers, and they're not just working with us; they're working with multiple recruiters. So we can only control so much of that process, right?
And counter offers too from their hanging on to the top talent.
Right.
Yeah,
so maybe that's something we talk about real quick with clients about counter offers and why they're like me as a employer. You come and tell me you're quitting, and I'm like, oh no, don't quit. I'm going to give you more money.
Right.
Why didn't I already do that?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's part of our candidate screening process too. I know a lot of the recruiters, I know you yourself, you do this. If the candidate comes in and they express why they want to be leaving their current opportunity or current position, I think you always ask, have you gone to your boss or manager and discussed this yet? Because if it's a money
Depends
thing,
on the reason for leaving.
If it's a money thing, then you can get that taken care of. Hopefully,
absolutely.
But a lot of times, it could be money. It could be I guess things that they initially were seeing at an environment or a culture or organization, and maybe that was the first time it was brought to their attention. So yes, counteroffers is something that happens with us all the time. But I just getting back to if someone put in a notice for X reason, trying to coach that client. It's like, hey, they already had 1 foot out the door. So it's, what's going to happen a couple months down the road.
Yep.
It's just stuff that we see.
Well, and I really want to speak to our clients too about the message that conveys when you offer a counteroffer, and especially, if it's good talent, go ahead and raise that money, get them at least up to industry standards so that you don't have to do that counter offer, because like you said, we coach our candidates all the time, never take a counter offer.
Do it.
They already know have 1 foot out the door, just like you said, and they are going to be looking to replace you.
Absolutely.
So
hey, you've lost kind of that trust there.
Yep, exactly.
Exactly.
Any type of issue that pops up in the department, remember, probably make that call.
Exactly. What are some common challenges clients have faced with other firms? This is
I think the biggest one is just, some of the things I hear is just flooding them with resumes. If you're taking the order and you have that partnership with the client, you should probably know the top criteria and only send over your top 1 or 2 candidates.
Right.
But that is probably the biggest issue that I hear is I've gotten 15 resumes, none of them seem to hit the mark.
Yep.
They might have 1 of 4 things, and they expect me to want to, give that feedback or give that interview. Not the case.
Right.
I think that's probably the biggest thing I hear.
Yeah, absolutely. That, and maybe that they just didn't quite listen during the initial phone call about the search. A lot of the candidates are missing some of the requirements or even personality.
Yeah.
I had an issue one time, several times actually, but this one time I was working with a company that they were going through some transition. It was going to get better, and I knew it was going to get better, but I was very clear with the candidates that you're going to be working a lot of hours, but you're going to learn a lot. Yeah. You're going to get to see some amazing things happen in accounting. And this one girl that I was working with at the time, she kept telling me no, that I couldn't send her. And I mean, I finally, because I really thought this was a good move for her. I mean, I would not have spent this much time if I didn't think it was a good move. She was going to learn a lot. It was going to do a lot for her career. She was going to have to put in some time. And most people do when they start out their career in accounting with the Big Fours or whatever, right? So I worked with her and I talked to her probably for an hour and a half about the company and why I thought it was a good move. And she said, okay, Casey, you can send me. I sent her over. Got an immediate response from the hiring manager that she'd already been submitted by another agency and that was I not asking that question. I was livid because I had asked that question and she had told me no multiple times. And so I called the candidate back and I was ready to just go off. I was done. And when I asked her, I said, who else did you say could send your resume? She goes, nobody. And so I called the hiring manager back and I was like, look, I just spent 2 hours on the phone with this girl, convincing her to interview with you. Right. So what? She did not give the other firm permission, and so he, when she went in, I set up all her interviews. I did everything. When she went in, he said, "Why are you here today?" And she goes, "I am here because of Casey, because she convinced me that I needed to interview with you." So.
We do see that happen a lot lately with people submitting, other firms submitting resumes without permission. I'm seeing it more and more, actually, because the talent pool. So, you know, it's a small pool out there. So.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's speed, like, oh, hey, remember so-and-so, get them over. I mean, it doesn't help.
No. But I agree. I think that, I have one other really good example. Sorry. I probably have a lot.
I bet you do.
This one I really like because I was working with a client and I had sent 3 candidates in a row that they said, are you not asking your candidates if they've already been submitted? I'm like, yes, I do. And so she, anyway, I said, okay, I called all the candidates back. None of them had given permission to this agency. And we found out it was just, I finally said, who is the agency that's sending these? Because I want my candidates to call them and tell them to stop. Turns out they were pulling the resumes off Career Builder, slapping their logo on it, and sending them to the client without even calling the candidates.
Like, they should get in so much trouble for that. That's so wrong.
We need like a recruiting police. So guys, y'all aren't going to believe this. We are almost out of time.
Wow. Time flies.
So I don't want to leave you guys out. I'm going to ask you the VIP questions that we ask all of our guests.
Okay.
Awesome.
So I am going to ask Chris first.
Oh, okay.
You are getting the Mars question. So if you were one of the first colonists on Mars and you could bring, which 3 things or people would you bring with you?
Okay. Since we are some of the first people up there.
Yep.
I would have to bring one of my favorite hobbies into play when I go up there. So I would have to bring my golf clubs.
I knew it.
100%. I don't care. There's got to be some simulator or something I can hit into, but I would have to have... He's going to
bust open the habitat.
Yeah, I have to have my golf clubs up there. Just think of this as, I mean, it comes off joke, but a one-way ticket home, just in case, if I needed that, right? Maybe my pups and things like that, but I think they would just...
You would have to choose one.
No, that would be tough. That's why I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could bring them up to Mars with me.
Right.
So I would probably go with a companion to my golf would be Bud Light. Making sure that it's there. They go together. So I don't it's a great partnership. That's what we're talking about.
6-pack or 12-pack?
Sure. Whichever, as long as it's there.
That's awesome. All right, Miss Natalie, what is one thing you do in the morning to set your day up for success?
So I recently just bought a little deck of cards, and it has like little positive maybe quotes or maybe affirmations that I flip over every morning before I guess whenever I start my day.
Okay.
So it just kind of starts the day off in a positive way. And
I think that's important.
Yeah.
Starting your day off in a positive mood with gratitude and puts you in a whole different mindset. So this has been a great conversation today, guys. I really appreciate y'all coming on and sharing some of the behind the scenes intel with what goes on with recruiters. I think a lot of people don't completely understand what we do. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I would like to encourage our clients is to ask questions. Mm-hmm. we will tell you everything. We are just as transparent as we're asking you to be.
Right.
So ask us questions and we will walk you through that process.
Of course.
So did y'all have fun?
I had so much fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for inviting us.
So maybe you'll come on again.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I just have one last thing to say to you guys. I have two last things. I'm so grateful that I get to work with you guys every single day because y'all are amazing. And the last thing I want to say is you are VIPs.
And that's a wrap for today. Join us next week here on the We Are VIP podcast. We'd love to know how we can help you be a VIP. To find out more, log on to wearevip.com.